Harry, maybe Donald Trump and Elon Musk should have looked into, I don't know, something called the Administrative Procedures Act, the FACA, other federal laws when they basically created a fake governmental agency, but gave it all of the dressings as though it was an actual government agency. Because when you become a quasi-governmental agency or you hold yourself out there as exerting governmental power, guess what? Federal law attaches, like Freedom of Information Act requests, and you have to be created by the Administrative Procedures Act. Your decision-making can't be arbitrary and capricious. There has to be public disclosures of your decision-making. Sunshine laws apply to you. So Donald Trump and Elon Musk went about creating this thing called DOGE. And in doing it, a few questions emerged. And I was saying this in real time with you. So do we now get to have all of Elon Musk's text messages, emails, communications the same way government entities and government actors would get or be subject to Freedom of Information Act type requests? How are they running things in a compliant way with federal law? I don't think they thought this stuff through. And one of the first lawsuits, Harry, was a lawsuit on precisely these issues: FACA, Administrative Procedures Act, Freedom of Information Act request, targeting DOGE as this unlawful thing that is pretending, wearing this mask of the government while not following the rules. I don't know. It'd be interesting to get some of these emails and to get some of these communications behind the scenes when they were all on Trump's plane together and all of that. So Harry, I know Donald Trump and Musk, they're trying to change tactics now, I think in response to the lawsuit, which, by the way, shows that lawsuits actually work in altering behavior a little bit. Now they're trying to claim that this Obama entity, this strategic digital thing that was already inside the executive office, that actually is going to be renamed to DOGE. Well, okay. Well, now you're still subject to all of the rules and federal law that you were trying to avoid. One final point, let me toss it to you, is that it seems that Elon Musk is actually getting an office, not in the executive office building, Harry, but in the West Wing itself. It seems that the oligarch's actually going to be implanted in the White House. I mean, the executive office building is connected by a tunnel, basically, and it's literally 50 feet away. But in the White House, in the West Wing, this is wild stuff. Harry, make some sense of this, can you?
Oh, thanks a lot. No is the short answer, but it really isn't like, no. Like, did they, they were like so chuffed about this, and nobody thought, if you take a second, even if you didn't know that FACA exists, you could have imagined, are you just going to set up a shadow government and they'll give all the advice to the president, but nobody will care about what they say? And they were caught completely with their pants down, because a couple of Democrats had the thought of applying to we'll be on it. And they were told no Democrats need apply. And all the things you mentioned, Ben, they're all true. They all apply under FACA, but you know what else does? Diversity of viewpoint. You can't just stack your buddies in there to serve their own interests. They whisper in your ear, and that's the end of the matter. If these are going to have, and he's been touting, Musk has been touting all the, they're going to cut $2 trillion. That's an amount equal to the entire federal government discretionary budget. They're going to do all these fantastic things. It'll be advisory, but they're going to do all these things. It just took a long time for the, excuse me, Mr. President-elect, you can't do that. Can I show you this law? And of course, he had never considered it. And could it really be? I continue to think like, this buddy movie is going to go sour somehow between Musk and Trump. But they got it. Did you notice this? They displaced members of Congress to have the oligarchs from the tech companies have the best seats in the joint for the inauguration. I mean, he's really constituting them as his shadow cabinet. Okay, well, first, the American people ought to understand who's running the show, but more than that, You can't just, oh, I'll be right back, close the door, and get the stage instructions from Elon Musk and others, and then come out. There is a reason that FACA was passed, and I tend to agree with you. It doesn't matter if there's a previous entity. What the law says is an advisory committee, which is essentially people who don't work in government who are providing advice. Sure seems the same. So I think they're going to really have a rough fight on their hands. We were talking not long ago about the potential lack of trust and credibility when they go to the courts in DC. Well, we'll see where this one is filed, but it could be a real example of coming to, bite them in the nose. There were 3 suits, I think, by noon or something about DOGE on FACA grounds, or the primary one. But then, as you say, there's a sheaf of other things, including the APA. And, that is how it works in this country. And of course, the opposition to Trump doesn't have that many tools to fight with. And it's rough. We are really pushing uphill, but that's one that still is there. And it really seems to me, you go to a court and say, it's completely obvious they don't have a diversity of viewpoint. Look at this and look at that. It's completely obvious they don't have the transparency they have to. It's completely, et cetera, et cetera. And a judge is likely to say, okay, I think you're going to win this suit. And because I think that, DOGE is frozen. Don't go another quarter step administration with it. And Trump will, will blow a gasket on it. But that really, there's a reason for it. It's not arbitrary and deep state stuff. It's, you do not want shadow oligarchs just deciding what should be done and not having the people even aware of it. That's what they're trying to do with DOGE, and that's what's being beaten back. We're going to see, by the way, what's going to happen. Will Musk run the show on his own? Will Ramaswamy go try to be governor of Ohio? But I continue to think, even apart from the possible trouble in paradise between Musk and Trump, that the DOGE grand project is really going to wind up not doing much and being a kind of a almost silly thing for him. It's not going to be a real feather in his cap. That'd be my best guess, because they're trying to do government by committee that you just cannot do.
4 points. 1, Vivek Ramaswamy. Ready for this? 1.
I'm ready. Yes, Mr. Meiselas.
Yeah. Vivek Ramaswamy out. He overstayed his welcome, according to sources close to DOGE. So see you later. 2,
you don't like him. Yeah.
Don't like him. 2, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was bragging about all of the people who are on the DOGE special subcommittee or whatever. And apparently she banned Republican women. There could only be 1 Republican woman on the committee, and that was her. 3, I wouldn't exactly call them a shadow oligarchy. They were right there. They were a bunch.
It's true. It's true.
You had Bezos.
Not elected, I should say. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Right there. I mean, you had Bezos' wife with the bra and the boobs out. It was a whole weird thing. And Zuckerberg was looking at it. The whole thing was weird and gross and really strange to look at, Harry. And then 4. Interestingly, Democrats are going to use the machinery that the Federalist Society built to undermine agencies against Trump's weaponization of the agencies. I mean, one of the ways that Republicans would try to strike down anything Biden did is basically say, look, under the Administrative Procedures Act, there wasn't a proper notice period, and they didn't go through this step or this step, and they would try to attack any agency action, in addition to being arbitrary and capricious when there used to be, Chevron deference, but they would just say, you didn't go through the process. So and they would be a stickler for, did you follow every single step in this kind of arcane Administrative Procedures Act rule? And so that's when they would strike down, mifepristone being accessible, for example. They would do it on the basis of saying, well, you didn't do this specific comma and you didn't dot your I and T there. Well, okay, one, Biden did. They would go through those hurdles. But here, the most egregious Administrative Procedures Act violation. Like, it's such a silly concept that you create a fake agency like this and then try to give it carte blanche authority that if my administrative law procedure professor were to literally make this a hypothetical, you would be like, all right, that I can't even fathom this example. It's so dumb that I can't even imagine being examined on this. Like, duh, this is unlawful. It'd be the easiest answer to an essay. Harry, I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah. Look, I want to wrap it up with a general point here. And we're in a tough struggle, and you and I are fighting every day to call out lies and push back against things. But Trump, as of yesterday at noon, was at his absolute high water mark of power. He's got a razor thin operating margin in the House. Already there are all kinds of members of Congress who are ducking like crazy when they're being asked, as they're going to be relentlessly, do you support pardons for the people who were so violent toward the officers? Trump will commit blunders. We know that, and that combined with his very narrow margin, it just means, like yesterday, what I said in my Substack, because the pardon's a day that will live in infamy. But a bright spot, you could say, for the people who are really digging in. He's not sophisticated. He's not lawyerly. He just thinks he can do whatever he wants. And where legal requirements are concerned, he's gonna blow it some, and then he's gonna blow it with popular support some. He's gonna peel off some members of Congress. You looked ahead in another discussion we had to the profile for the 2 years from now, when, by the way, the Senate elections are kind of favor the Dems. So, something to keep in mind, even as we're outraged justifiably at the, constitutional derelictions that he's doing by the minute. It's going to get worse for him. He's going to screw up. He's going to overreach, and we'll be there. There's already people there to capitalize.
Harry Lippman, Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds podcast, Talking Feds Substack. Subscribe to all three. Thanks as always, Harry.
Thank you as always, Ben. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.